speaking out of Akron, Ohio, representing Team Popping the Boys, the headline god, Jeremy Lambert, and his co-host, speaking out of Atlanta, Georgia, representing more than one royal family, the king of indie viewing, Stephen Jensen. And this is the Spotlight on Fightful.
Welcome everyone to the Spotlight here on Fightful. I'm Jeremy Lambert. That's Stephen Jensen, and shout out as always to Big Dick MLJ for the intro. It is Thursday, August 7th, and we got a lot to talk about. And Jensen, I may as well just hit the bumper. I know you're ready for the celebration. I see the hat. I assume the shirt is the same. Yeah.
This is a iced coffee. This has nothing to do with it. But trying to get a little energy for the celebration. It's got off work from the shoot job. Yeah. We got a. What do you guys want to talk about?
I need to finish the story. In the WWE, the story never finishes.
The story finished for a second time as Cody Rhodes is once again the undisputed WWE champion. Go ahead.
Yes. So obviously I'm very happy about this. This was a big day for all of us Cody Rhodes fans. So first off, I'll say, obviously, this match was much, 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 much better than what we got at WrestleMania. Like, this is what WrestleMania should have been. That goes without saying. Two completely different matches. I loved this match between Cena and Cody. Not just because I'm a Cody fan, but also because it looked like that was John Cena. That was like, if John Cena was ever going to have another big performance in his life, that was it. I think he's still going to, do the best he can. And I think he's going to end the year strong on this, babyface run to finish things up. But excuse me. But I thought that their match was, it was legitimately one of my favorite SummerSlam matches ever. I know it's just recently happened, but I think that's going to be, once WWE, does those lists every year of when they update those, I think that's going to be maybe in the top 5. It's tough because they're competing with classic Bret Hart matches and stuff. I get it, but that was a hell of a performance from both guys, and there was a lot of good spots. Piledriver finisher in the chat mentions the Cody Bader spot. I thought was awesome. Cena coming up with Cody on his shoulders in the Cody Bader. And even though the only thing about it that I would critique really at all is but what's going to happen in a match like this is, they kicked out of it was AA kick out, triple Cody cutter or crossroads kick out. But once again, this is the type of match you knew it was going to be like that. So I didn't necessarily have any kind of issue with it. That's the one, I think that was the one critique I think I saw anyone saying about the match was that was basically that. But I think people can be really I think Cody fans and Cena fans can both be really proud of what they saw. And I don't know if we've even talked since Cena just turned babyface. But honestly, that was probably the best thing they could have done is obviously there should have been a real plan. And obviously The Rock should have been involved in this, and they might have had a falling out with Travis Scott and all this stuff. I understand all those things, obviously. But I like that they recognized that the plug need to be pulled, and they were just which just and it was weird, and it also led to there was a little mystery in the match of was that all bullshit, and is Cena just gonna kick Cody in the nuts again? So it also did kind of add to the match, and I really liked that there wasn't another turn involved. It was just babyface Cena, babyface Cody. He gave him the endorsement at the end and everything. And then, of course, the Brock stuff, which we can talk about too if you want to. But I want this night to be remembered for when Cody Rhodes won his second WWE championship. So I was very happy as a Cody fan with how everything went.
Well, how do you feel that it was overshadowed by the Brock stuff?
Well, I mean, that's a whole other conversation in itself, right? I mean, yeah, it's I'll make this really short and sweet. Or I shouldn't say sweet. I'll make this really short. Lesnar's named like 40, I think it was 44 times in this thing that's like still ongoing. I probably wouldn't be doing business with him. I kind of just leave it at that. Like, I think everyone can kind of understand like why you probably wouldn't want to.
This thing is Janelle Grant's lawsuit against WWE and Vince McMahon, where she alleges sex trafficking and sexual assault. I don't want to dismiss it as
I'm talking to our audience as if like they know what I'm talking about.
Right. Again, I don't I don't need some people who don't know what we're talking about act like you're trying to be dismissive of this, because I know that's not your intention.
No, I'm like, man, he didn't make the Vikings. What a loser. Like, no, it's much more serious. Like this, this is so that's I don't really want to elaborate on it too much, honestly, because like I know that like the live audience obviously popped for it, and I think that I'm interested to see the reactions going forward, but like I think enough of the fan base is not wanting to see Brock involved, and like if it was like, I think I can make it pretty clear, if it was my decision, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't have him back. Like, I think it's like, I also think that there's probably an element there which I can't speak to, that like I don't know, but like, is it like, did John Cena want him back for the end of his run? Like, was this partly, obviously WWE can make the decision not to bring him back still, but like, was that part, like the timing just seems, anyway. I have probably the same opinion a lot of people do about this. And this is coming, by the way, from someone who, I was obviously a very big Brock Lesnar fan. Like, I was a huge fan of him as a wrestler. I was a huge fan of him as an MMA fighter. I'm a Minnesota Vikings fan. He tried to make the squad. I've always been a big Brock supporter, and like even I'm like, I would not touch this guy right now. So, But Cody won, so, and hopefully they don't wind up going back to Cody and Brock at any point anytime soon, because like that's already been done. Like, Cody already got like the Brock endorsement or whatever before, because that was Brock's last match, was like 2 years ago against Cody, losing. So like there's no need to go back to that. I don't know. I don't know what this is going to look like or how long he's going to be there, or it's such a weird situation. That whole thing's so weird. So
I said my piece on Monday, and that was on main channel, and we got a lot of people on main channel who just absolute idiots, to put it nicely. So I think people know how I feel about things. I wouldn't do business with him. I think it's a little insulting and disgusting that they're doing business with him, and I hope that everybody gets their day in court, and we learn more about it then. Because
see, what I'm like, what I think's going to wind up happening is that there's going to be a settlement outside of court at some point, and like then there's going to be even more questions about like, because I hate this whole thing, because like, what would really suck too is like, if there is a settlement, then these same people that are making the decisions to bring Brock back right now could also be like, well, Vince never got charged, so like bring them on. You know what I mean? Like so like I think like a settlement leaves even like more questions than answers. I do want to just all play out, and I do want the truth to come out, just like you do. It's one of those things where it's like, if they're willing to bring Brock back, like during this, that kind of leaves the door open for kind of like anything. And that's like, I don't mean that in a good way. You know what I mean? So
they don't care. Yeah. That's the whole
no, I know.
They do not care.
I know. But a lot of the fans do, and I know that they don't necessarily care about that. I'm just saying, like, it's not surprising that I've seen so many people so upset about this either. Like, they should expect this.
The only way things change is if numbers go down. That's the only way they're paying attention. Or sponsors pull out. Because we got to remember, they were fine with Vince. The lawsuit came It's like, ah, okay. But then one of the sponsors was like, yeah, we got to change this. And that's when Vince left. And unless sponsors are going to pull out or if numbers are going to go down, they're not going to change anything. You know, their line is, well, let's listen to the reaction that he got at SummerSlam. Everybody is happy to see him back. And he got a reaction at SummerSlam because I think a lot of people were shocked, and I'm sure there were a number that were happy about it. Like, I don't dispute that. I know there is a section of the fan base that was happy about it. Is that going to continue to be the majority of the fan base? We shall see. But unless the numbers change, they're not going to change anything. And right now, the numbers aren't going to change because at least the revenue is extremely high. And viewership numbers, again, we'll see. The Netflix thing, I don't know how much stock they're putting into the Netflix numbers because it's about the same number every single week at this point. There's no real growth with those numbers, but there's no real loss either. SmackDown, we'll see on Friday. You know, they got Cena and Cody announced for the show. Oh, you would think it would do a decent number coming off of SummerSlam. The NXT numbers were up from the previous week. The NXT numbers were up pretty big, so I don't know if anything's going to actually change. Yeah.
I mean, that's the only, like you said, and like the numbers specifically that would have to change is the money, like the revenue. That's it. Like if there's less people watching the show, they don't really care because they already have the TV deal. Their ticket prices are more expensive than they've ever been, and they're non-wrestling fans that can afford it, and they're the ones going. They don't care. Yeah, for sure.
And that's the thing is, they're locked into TV deals. They're locked into. I mean, we just saw this week they signed with ESPN to do 10 PLEs for next year, which it's going to cost more money now because that ESPN platform's $30. So now you're paying $30 a month to get the PLEs. Obviously, you get whatever else is on ESPN. I don't think fans are just spending $30 a month for WWE PLEs, but some might. I mean, for Peacock, there's some stuff I like on Peacock, but a lot of it is like, well, all the wrestling shows are on Peacock. So yeah, I kind of gotta have Peacock. ESPN, they got NBA rights, they got NFL rights. They do very good with NHL. Like, it'll be worth $30 for someone like me who watches every other sport and will utilize the platform. It's still more than I would like to spend because right now I got ESPN Plus bundled with Disney and Hulu for legitimately like $25 a month. So I'm not even sure if it's that much, honestly. Yeah. But like all that, I think the bundle is actually like $13 or $14 a month. But all that bundled together, all right, I get 3 platforms for like $15 a month. Now I'm paying one for one platform, double that. That's a little costly there.
Well, one thing I was confused about is like if you have like ESPN as a part of like your cable package, like can you not just use like your like Xfinity login in their thing and you're good? You're not having to pay another $30. Like it's part of having it.
It does seem like it is part of that. As of now, we know how sometimes these platforms work where, yeah, it seems like it's part of it for the time being, but that might change in 2 months, 3 months when the subscriber numbers aren't good. And it's like, oh, well, everybody's subscribed through cable. Well, that doesn't help us because they're paying the cable network. They're paying the cable provider for that. They're not paying us for that. So when does that get cut? Because that's something that's bound to happen. That's what happened with HBO Max. When it was like HBO Go, it was you could get HBO if you have HBO as part of your cable package, you can get HBO Go. And then they became HBO Max, and then Max, and then HBO Max again. It became a whole ordeal. But the point is, it doesn't matter if you have HBO as part of your cable package. You got to pay a separate fee for HBO Max or Max, again, whatever it might be. And that's likely to happen here.
Well, I mean, we can literally make, excuse me, a 1-to-1 comparison with the exact network we're talking about. The UFC has been signed to ESPN for years. And if you have ESPN Plus, like it's $5 or $10 a month or whatever it is. I've had it forever. I can't even remember what it costs anymore. I think that I do have that bundle where it's like ESPN, Hulu, and Disney like all together. But anyways, you have to have ESPN Plus to get like so for this is going to sound confusing for people who don't follow the UFC, but basically pretty much every weekend at this point, almost every weekend, there's a UFC event live. Most of them are on ESPN Plus, and like usually once a month, sometimes twice a month, they'll do a numbered pay-per-view, and those are still actual pay-per-view. To watch those, you have to be subscribed to ESPN Plus, so you're already paying like the $10 or whatever you're paying with your bundle. Plus, you have to pay like $80 per pay-per-view. Absurd. Oh no, it's and what's crazy, and this is a whole other conversation we have to go into, but like the UFC doesn't really have that many stars right now. We've talked about it a little bit before.
Yeah, the numbers are down. Like all their pay-per-view numbers are down, and part of it is $80 is an absurd price for these pay-per-views when they used to be 50, maybe 60. But yeah, the other part of it, as we have talked about, they got no stars. I don't remember the last time. I don't order UFC pay-per-views, but even just watching a full-on pay-per-view. I watched the fights the other weekend. Was it Poirier and Holloway? Yeah, I was like, all right, those are two guys I've known forever. I want to watch them fight. Before that, I don't remember the last time I watched one of the pay-per-views, but no, all their numbers are completely down because they don't have any stars. But to your point is, hey, you get ESPN Plus, but then you still got to pay on the UFC pay-per-views on top of that. WWE, I know Nick Khan has said he didn't want to do anything like that, but you're still now asking fans from paying $10 a month or $12 a month on Peacock. They're raising their prices as well. You're asking them to pay that on Peacock. Oh, now pay $30 a month. But you only get the PLEs. At least if you're paying for Peacock, okay, you get the NXT PLEs as well. That's not part of this ESPN. You get the archived content, which right now we don't know where the archived content is going to be. It's going to be great for those in Canada, those with a VPN, which is probably what I'll end up doing. Like, all right, Netflix has got everything. I don't need to worry about anything else. But it's unless those numbers drop, they don't care. And the problem is it's going to be tough for those numbers to drop because they've already built in all these TV deals. So we don't know what's influencing there. And it might not even matter because they already got all their money. So they're not worried about it. Well,
the reason I'm especially interested in the UFC right now is because they're currently negotiating their TV deals. So like now that that's all, like when ESPN and the UFC made this deal that they're currently on, it wasn't TKO and it wasn't the same. I mean, it was Ari Emanuel and, same leaders for the most part, but now it's all one company with TKO, with WWE and the UFC. And with WWE just now making that deal with ESPN, like, does it make it more likely? What I'm hoping for is that like UFC and ESPN come up with a new deal to keep it how it is, but include the pay-per-views or just up what ESPN Plus costs maybe a little bit monthly and give you pay-per-views or something similar to what the WWE is doing. Or I want the UFC to just bring it to Netflix. Like if they can just get it to where like you're paying your $10 a month or whatever for Netflix, when they're live, you get to watch it. But like, but they could very well just stay doing pretty much what they're doing with the model that they're currently using. But they would have such a bigger reach if they were on a platform like a Netflix, or just let you for $10 a month or whatever watch their pay-per-views. Like Cyclops is better than Wolverine says in the chat. Watch every big UFC pay-per-view since we hit it at the same time since 2012 and never paid. Dude, the lengths I allegedly used to go to back in the day, we're talking. So when I was in college from 2006 2010. That makes me feel super old saying that now. My 20-year high school reunion is next year. And I'm definitely not going. But so when I was in college, we used to I went to a school called Georgia Southern. We used to go out on the weekends, go to the bars and stuff. But I was a huge UFC fan because this is only like a couple years after the original Ultimate Fighter. So like UFC was getting like super hot. And I remember back then, that I allegedly had this thing called it was either called a Sopcast or Soapcast player. And like you downloaded this program and then online you could find these message board threads that would like have like a code. It'd be like code for different like channels. And basically it was like this crazy thing that I figured out how to use. And I used to be able to record all the UFC pay-per-views back then. So like I'd go to the bars with my buddies, come back home, and then we watch the recorded fights off of this Sopcast player, completely allegedly. But that's always been a big part of UFC fandom, because there was a while where I'd pay for every UFC pay-per-view, every single one. Because for a while it was like they were more spread out, and like every show you had like multiple title fights, fighters you actually cared about and were invested in, and it was like worth spending like $50 or whatever it was for the show. Now it's like $80, and like you might get a title fight, you might get a couple people, the weekly shows on Saturdays now, just the ESPN Plus shows, they get main evented by people I've never even heard of, and I watch every weekend, and like I still like I'm like, oh yeah, I kind of remember this person, like the main eventing week, like it's. So anyways, that's all. And that's a big part of the thing was like, even back then, for people who might not remember the years I'm talking about, the UFC honestly didn't even really care that much about pirating, because they just wanted to grow the sport. Like they just wanted because it went from like banned and no one could watch it to like anyone was trying to get access to become a fan to it. So for a while, they just kind of like turned a blind eye to all of it. And then one day, Brendan Schaub went out there and ran his mouth about like how easy it was, and the UFC started cracking down massively. Brendan Schaub was pretty much the reason that the MMA Reddit streams went away. Shout out, RIP to those. I can go all day about all these different sites and stuff from all these years, but anyways, yeah, we can move on.
Yeah, the UFC used to be so much cooler. Now it's
the same people. It's all the same people, the WWE and the UFC managing everything together, and they're all hanging out with Donald Trump, and it's dividing the fan base. So it's like, just a lot of decisions that I probably wouldn't make if I was in charge. But I'm not in charge. I'm just a Cody Rhodes fan that wants to see Cody Rhodes be successful, and he's WWE champion again. So, I'm happy about that.
I thought the match was great. Cody and Cena. I thought that was a fantastic match. It was up there as far as WWE matches of the year for me. Like, it's tough, and I'm very much a person who has like recency bias with these things. The four-way, the three-way at Mania, the women's three-way at Mania is right up there as well. But this match, I mean, it had John Cena with a vintage John Cena performance. It had Cody Rhodes with a very good performance, and had just a lot of memorable stuff. And yeah, the heel turn, you mentioned it, they admitted it sucked. They tried to throw The Rock and Travis Scott underneath the bus, when, all right, partially their fault, but like, you still could have booked something different and better, and you didn't. And instead of doing that, instead of trying to just fix it, you decided, anyway, yeah, that sucked. Let's just go back to babyface. And I guess on one hand, credit to them for pulling the plug when they did and not trying to stretch it out. On the other hand, you really wasted these last 5 months doing a bunch of bullshit with John Cena. And
you could have had all the same matches and just had him be a babyface. So you could have just like ran back him and Punk, him and Orton, and like it would have been totally fine without a heel turn.
Yeah.
In hindsight. I stand on, though, if they were gonna do it, they should have done it at WrestleMania. Like they should have actually waited for the main event of WrestleMania to do the turn if they were going to go through with it. It would have worked better. But hindsight is 2020. I
stand on it shouldn't have sucked this bad. You had John Cena in a once in a lifetime role, being a heel, and Jensen, you know my complaints with this whole thing.
Yeah, he came out looking like a loser a bunch. He'd be the one getting beat down week by week, and
trash.
Yeah, wasn't having good matches. Yeah, for sure.
Like it was awful, and that was their plan. He's gonna ruin wrestling by having these types of matches. Like, it was bad on purpose. If it was bad on purpose, they would have figured out a better way to have an ending. It was just bad.
I like that Cena at least said, like, pretty much just said out loud, like, The Rock and Travis Scott bailed on me, and like I was feeding you stuff that wasn't working. So sorry, guys, I'm back. You know?
Yeah, that's a Triple H directive of throw Travis Scott and The Rock underneath the bus. They ain't here every week. Like, I understand. Okay, you want them to take the fall and everything. If Dwayne is to be believed, which maybe not, he said on McAfee's show after WrestleMania, he told them he wasn't going to be around. So you maybe had that knowledge beforehand. Let's say Travis Scott was going to be around. Your big idea was still Travis Scott,
right?
Basically being in the Logan Paul role for that Money in the Bank match. Like, that was your grand idea. That's still awful. Like, that's still absolutely awful. So Triple H booked it. It sucked. And he tried to put the heat on Travis Scott and The Rock, which, fine, some people bought. I don't buy it.
I don't like when people go into business for themselves like that, where, like, you kind of, like, you know, let's just say hypothetically someone in AEW would, like, had a microphone in the middle of the ring and they were, like, calling out the Hangman, and, like, the Hangman totally wasn't there, and everyone knew that the Hangman wasn't there, but, like, the guy kept calling him out anyways. Then it led to, like, this whole big problem. Y'all remember?
He was the undisputed WWE champion for 5 minutes on Saturday.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, cashed in on him. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Is that a we can use that as a trend. Oh, by the way, I got a text from we won't have a guest today, but should have them in future weeks. We're gonna have some more Cody Rhodes fans on probably in the near future to continue to celebrate this championship run. I mean, obviously I'm stoked on it, and I've already purchased, like, the Tops Now cards and stuff, and, you know, so those should be coming in soon. Oh yeah, you got to jump on and buy the merch and support. Because here's the thing, regardless of all the other stuff that I don't agree with when it comes to everything else we just talked about, like, about the actual company, like, obviously I'm very happy for the success Cody's had. Like, you know, so, like, he's living out a lifelong dream that I'm living vicariously through him. And, like, to see him on top, like, and it's a very strange feeling for me too, because, like, I'm a lifelong Minnesota Vikings fan. Like, I'm used to just, like, never actually winning. You know what I mean? So, like, for Cody to be on top, like, is not normal for my fandom of pretty much anything. So it's really, this has been a lot of fun to see this play out, and, like, the fact that he's always going to be tied in history to John Cena, because I literally remember being on, like, the wrestling mats in high school, and that was around the time John Cena debuted, and, like, Cody was talking. Obviously, it wasn't like I'm going to wrestle John Cena one day, but, like, we would go to wrestling practice and be like, "Did you see SmackDown?" Like, we're talking about John Cena and stuff, and it's like John Cena and Brock Lesnar, and, like, these guys that, like, Cody has actually wrestled now. It's, like, it's just crazy, like, how full circle it's come for me just watching this all happen. So hopefully he has a good second run with the championship. You know, got a whole bunch of good contenders. We'll see how this goes. I think that they can. Well, see, here's the other thing, and we don't have to get too into this, but, like, what I learned from that WWE Unreal show is that there's some really, really bad ideas in the creative room. Like, yes. I couldn't believe the idea that somebody had, I don't know if it was Gewartz or someone in the room had about Kevin Owens just, like, coming out and beating Cody Rhodes for the championship right before WrestleMania at Elimination Chamber.
That was Gewartz. To defend Gewartz a little bit, when he's retelling this whole thing, I don't think he understood the timeline. I think it was because Kevin Owens had moved on. Right,
he already lost the TLC match.
Yeah, so it wouldn't have made sense. I think Gewartz just threw out Kevin Owens because he was working with Cody before Elimination Chamber, and he thought this was some shocking thing. Like we talk about all the times, like, there are hundreds of pitches every day, and most of them you'll never hear about. Some of them you'll now start to hear about. Some of them come from the talent. Chelsea's talked about, I pitched this, and this, and some stuff gets used. A lot of stuff doesn't get used, but you just got to throw things out there and see what maybe connects and everything. But yeah, going with the Unreal show and seeing in real time months later, like all the pitches that are thrown out there is kind of eye-opening of like, oh yeah, they just really toss anything out there and just hope Triple H is like, oh, okay, that sounds good. Well, I don't think Triple H has good ideas. I thought that show exposed his dumbass ideas because he's like, oh yeah, CM Punk should win in the main event of WrestleMania despite Paul Heyman turning on him. Like, he should still win. And he's like, Roman, who's he going to be without Paul Heyman? Like, he didn't want to split up Heyman and Reigns because he didn't know who Roman was going to be without Heyman. Roman's still getting biggest pops on the shows. Like, Roman's doing fine. But Triple H's bright idea was, yeah, Paul Heyman turns, but CM Punk just immediately overcomes that and wins. It's like, all right, cool, I guess. Like, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, they even had stuff written down on their board, like, was it McIntyre versus Braun Breaker with Steve Austin as a special referee? It was like, what? Like, what? Like, how does that make any sense? Like, but yeah.
I 100% believe this, by the way. I 1,000,000% can buy Triple H was like advocating for Punk, knowing the cameras were around and everything. And also knowing like it's going to get changed and that's not what is actually going to happen. I can 1,000,000% believe this.
That would be so funny. He's just doing it to like play the Punk's ego so that like, Punk doesn't get upset. That's so funny.
You know, he's asking for the Rumble winners and everybody's like Punk. And then they say Jey Uso and then that ends up being the idea. But yeah, I fully can buy Triple H being like, I was trying for you, Punk. You know, I thought that was a good idea, you winning, but majority rules, I guess. Even though I have final say over everything, majority rules.
It's interesting seeing Triple H like. It'll be interesting, like to see how this like continues to go over like the next months and years and stuff, because like what we have seen so far is, and I'm not saying this to praise Vince McMahon, the human being, obviously, but what Triple H has done well with so far is pretty much stuff that Vince started. And then he like, you know what I mean? Like the bloodline story and the Cody's finishing this, like all this stuff was already in motion when Triple H took over. So it's like his stuff so far, like, I mean, like the Goldberg, Gunther stuff, like, I mean, that all was weird. And then on top of that, like to have Gunther, like the way they've treated Jay has been strange, but like he's over enough. I'm not saying he shouldn't have been the champion, but it's also like in hindsight, should have even won the title. Like, cause Gunther could have just held it until now and then done all this anyways. And Goldberg never needed to actually wrestle for the title and stuff. Like it's just been kind of weird. I will say this though, the biggest winner to me of that Unreal show was probably Chelsea Green. Like the way she came off on that show made me like her a lot. It's not like I disliked her, obviously, but like it made me like her a lot more. Like actually hearing her say stuff like, it's like, if you need me to be a loser, like I'll go out there and be the best loser you've ever. Like she is just down to play whatever role she needs to play, and she's just knocking it out of the park with whatever they give her, to the point where like she just keeps getting opportunities. And I think there's something admirable about that. Like obviously everyone wants to be successful and win championships, and she wanted to win the women's US title and all that stuff. But like, it's also cool just to hear someone kind of just be real about it and be like, I'm here to be entertaining, and like, whatever they need me to do, I'll do. I'll jump in a trash can. I'll whatever, she just seems, I felt like she probably gained a lot more fans, I feel like, through that documentary, I would feel like.
Oh, Chelsea is always, I know I consume wrestling content a lot differently because I listen to so many interviews, but Chelsea's always stated like, I'll be the female Miz. Like,
yeah.
What's wrong with that? Miz has been
around forever. Yeah.
Miz has been employed for 20 years.
Yep.
Miz has main evented WrestleMania. Miz has won every championship there is to win. Miz gets a bunch of Hollywood opportunities. About to host American Gladiators. He hosts radio shows. Fills in for that. He had his own reality show for multiple seasons. Like,
He's won the challenge.
He has won the challenge, but
Back when I was watching,
people dismiss that as like a bad thing. It's like not everyone can be like The Rock and John Cena and Steve Austin and everything. Being the Miz sets you up for a pretty damn good life. I've seen how that man lives. He's got a nice house, nice cars. He's doing well for himself.
Oh yeah, gorgeous wife, everything. I mean, like he literally he won. Like I've talked about it 1,000 times. Like I haven't watched the challenge really since not too long after he stopped doing them. But I just the other day I actually saw a commercial and I didn't even know it was for the challenge because I haven't seen it in so long. And I know that you watch it, but I was like mind blown because it's like it's like, is that Johnny Bananas? Like, is this still the same?
Yeah,
these are the same guys and they're like juiced up. They're just like, this is wild that they've been able to make a career out of doing these reality show games or whatever. But good for them. You know, it's like, that's how I'm sure people feel like whenever they don't watch the WWE for, 20 years and then they see it for the first time in forever. And they're like, wait a second, like, R-Truth is still doing this? Like John Cena is still here? You know what I mean? Like, yeah. But The Miz was the man back then. Like people might not know that like when he started, he did the Real World back to New York, got super drunk, became this Miz character with like drop kick trash cans and stuff and cut promos and everyone in the house hated him. He was like a heel on the show. And then he won some challenges, took that money, enrolled in UPW in wrestling school, and like became a wrestler, and then got to Tough Enough, and then from there it's all history. So I got nothing but love and respect for The Miz. I think he's the second he retires, he'll be Hall of Fame inducted. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So hell yeah.
SummerSlam Night 1 did see Seth Rollins with the ruse of the century and cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase on CM Punk. Seth Rollins was not hurt. CM Punk won the title. Seth's music hit. And then he was on crutches, but then he ditched the crutches. He ran to the ring. He hit Punk with the briefcase. He hit the stomp. He won the title. Okay.
He did the full Willy Wonka with like pretending that he couldn't walk, and then
this setup sucked. This setup was so bad. It made the fake knee injury pointless. Like, what was the point of faking the knee injury if you were just gonna walk out there and announce, "Ha ha ha, I don't have an injured knee anymore"? You didn't trick CM Punk into thinking like Punk's gonna come out there and he's like, "Oh, I don't have to worry about Seth cashing in. He's just hurt. He's not gonna do anything to me." Oh, wait a second, he is actually not hurt. Oh, now he is going to cash in. Shit, he already wrestled a match. He didn't need to do all of that. Punk did not have his guard down just because Seth comes out there with a injured knee. At least he shouldn't. Braun Breaker's around. Bronson Reed's around. Even with an injured leg, Braun Breaker or Bronson Reed could have come out there and beat the shit out of him. And Seth could have cashed in, injured. The whole setup just sucked. The execution wasn't good. It made the, look, not actually hurt. It was a lame way to do it.
Well, that was my prediction last week. That's what was going to happen. I didn't know if it was going to happen right after. I figured that Rollins would prevent Punk from winning the title. I didn't think that they'd go through with Punk winning and then Seth taking it from him right away.
Yeah, that's the other thing is he's like, I'm going to make sure you never win the title. Like, well, he actually failed because he won the title. I understand 5 minutes. And you can still tell a story of, I thought it was better that you got a taste of it and I took it away from you instead of never having that taste. But when your whole mission statement beforehand was, I'm going to make sure you never have the title, and then he still had the title, it's like, well, you kind of failed.
Yeah, true. I keep up with the Rich Eisen show fairly often. I know Seth hosted that show last week, and
yeah, he hosted the show a couple days after the Saturday Night's Main Event injury, and that's when the alarm bells went off for a lot of people because Rollins said, I went to get an MRI and they said there was too much swelling in the knee, so I go back for another MRI in a couple of weeks. But you flew from wherever Evolution was, which pretty sure that was in Atlanta. Yeah. You flew from Atlanta to Los Angeles to host the Rich Eisen show. And your knee was too swollen for an MRI a couple days afterwards. Yeah, that's where a lot of alarm bells went off for a lot of people. This could be a fake thing here.
I do like that he worked Rich Eisen in his crew though. Like they, well, I mean, like one of them, I can't think of his name, is like his co-host has a TJ. Yeah, he's a big wrestling fan and has that podcast with O'Shea?
Son.
Yeah.
O'Shea Jackson. Yeah. I don't know how much those guys are being worked or how much they're playing. I say this is I want to be as nice as possible with this, but Jonathan Gresham didn't seem good.
Wait, what?
Oh, sorry. Jonathan Gresham's posting. I'll look at something here in a second. I want to say this is as nice as possible about them because Helwani did the same thing. Like, oh, you tricked us. It's like, you guys are online enough. What do you guys got tricked by this? They really got you on this, and maybe they did. And I said I don't mind that they're trying to do this work. I don't, but there was a lot of reporting around it being a work, and I think Seth kind of hurt the reporting by the Eisen show stuff. So, look, if they got fooled by it, I'd ask questions of why they got fooled by it, honestly.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, we pretty much called. I mean, I was pretty. Here's the thing: when the quote unquote injury happened, the only thing that made me feel like it might be legit at all was that they just had LA Knight just hit him with the blunt force trauma and pin him right away. But before that, which is stupid, right? Because it's like you just let him do that to you if you weren't hurt. But also, like when he sold the knee, it was like super animated. Like when he landed on the moons on like the lion salt and like jumped up in the air and like grabbed his knee, and like the way it was like the way he sold it. Like I also even then was kind of like, this seems like really. It seemed like an act. Like he was trying to oversell how hurt he was, but then they also did a pretty good job of throwing me off, like I said, where it was like, then all of a sudden LA Knight just hits him with his finish and they get out of there. And it's like, why would you willingly do that if you're Seth Rollins? And then, like you said, the end game, like ultimately, like it didn't matter because like he could have done that same exact cash in without doing the knee injury thing at all. He could have just come out healthy and just pin Punk. And also, why didn't Punk just run away? Like you just have this match with Gunther, just bail. Like you've bailed before. Like, just get out of there with the title. Like, why would you even stand around and wait for Rollins?
Yeah, the setup should have been Bronson Reed, like, attacking Punk from behind. And Seth walking down, still injured, and laughing, and then cashing in. And then he stands up, and then he's holding this up, and then he takes the knee brace off. That should have been the whole thing. Because at least it's like, oh, he wasn't hurt. That's how they executed it. Because his giant plan was, I'm going to willingly lose a match to LA Knight, to fake a knee injury, to cash in on a guy who is not even the number one contender at this point. Because Punk won the number one contender match on the Raw after the knee injury. So...
yeah,
once you start thinking about it, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And then even if you want to twist reality of like, oh, okay, maybe it was a long-term thing. He could have held the briefcase for a year. He could have just faked being injured for the entire year, and on the off chance that Punk could have won or Punk had a title match, and then he could have cashed in. The execution still sucked. If they did the execution different, you can forgive some of the logic leading up to it. But because the execution wasn't good, the logic looks a little bit worse leading up to it as well.
Yeah.
I'm glad Seth Rollins is not hurt. I will say that.
Oh yeah, of course. And I love Seth Rollins. I'm happy that he's the champion. Like, you know, I want to see more of what they do with him and his group, and hopefully Braun Breaker isn't like really hurt. I saw his leg was wrapped up.
Yeah, I mean, this could be, you know, who knows, but he looked fine on Monday. He looked a little gingerly, you know, but he delivered a spear. He was in on the beatdown. You know, he.
Oh, that's right. I actually watched that. Yeah.
Yeah, he was moving well enough to where if he was hurt, they wouldn't have had him do all of that. At least you would think they wouldn't have had him do all that.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, I'm glad Rollins won the title. I mean, I thought Punk and Gunther had a good match. Like, you know, also with everything we just said, so like they purposely gave Goldberg and Gunther like 15 minutes. Like everyone was like, well, Rollins got hurt, so like they had to make changes to, you know, their match went longer than they like. That was the plan the whole time. Like what? And then you still ran out of time for his speech. Like that might make me even a little more salty if I was Goldberg. I was like, that wasn't even a mistake. You just boxed me out like that.
That makes it worse, is because the defense around Goldberg and Gunther was, oh well, they had to change things because of the injury. It's like, well, that actually went off as planned, and you still missed your cue on the show cutting out and him doing his speech.
Yeah, exactly. That's my whole point. Like, damn. And so I think it gives Goldberg a little more ammo to be a little salty about the situation. I did read, I like skimmed the Jonathan Gresham thing. I don't know if that's what you're looking at right now, but that looks pretty serious.
So Jonathan Gresham just put, 2 days ago I woke up and couldn't walk or move the left side of my body. I couldn't see and barely talk. It took me 30 minutes to dial 911, but I finally did. I woke up in the hospital, couldn't remember what had happened. They told me and had done an MRI, and I had 2 strokes. I've had a lot of tests run, but everything has come back clean. They're not sure what happened. The only thing they said is it could have been a possible complication from a bad case of COVID I had a couple weeks ago. They said we may never know the exact reason. Needless to say, I will be taking the next 2 to 4 weeks off of wrestling to recover and get fully cleared by my neurologist. So best wishes to Jonathan Gresham, who one of the nicest guys. I've talked to him a couple of times for this channel or just in interview capacity, and met him in person once. Very, very nice guy. Hopefully, and as far as wrestling goes, like obviously one of the best when it comes to in-ring and technical wrestling. So hopefully Gresham is just able to heal up and get better.
Yeah, and I hope he doesn't push himself too hard. 2 to 4 weeks seems pretty fast.
Yeah, that does seem. I caught that as well. Of like, I don't know about 2 to 4 weeks, man. That I feel like
I don't want to doubt the guy. All power to him. Like he knows himself and his body, and he's got doctors. I'm not, but 2 to 4 weeks sounds like, especially because we're talking like neurological. Like you want to make sure
2 strokes.
Okay. Yeah, like I don't think you're gonna get. I'm not a doctor, obviously, so I don't know. But like I just want him to be safe because he's a guy, like you said, he really pushes himself too, like in the ring. Like it's not like he just goes out there and, you know, does the greatest hits and gets out of there. Like he gets after it every match.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope that's scary. I'm glad that he was able to get help like exactly when he did. You know, because it sounds like this was like super time sensitive. So
2 strokes. Yeah,
that's super scary, dude.
Yeah, best wishes to Jonathan Gresham again. One of the good dudes in wrestling. So, all right, let's go to AEW. There we go.
Over 1 million fans and a great number in the demo tuned in. And it was a great show, and I think it's been a run of great shows.
AEW Dynamite last night closed with Mark Briscoe losing to MJF, and his foot was on the ropes, but MJF hid the evidence after the match was over. I was informed that you guys didn't see this on TV, but MJF, when the replay was showing, he did like box out Bryce Remsburg from like seeing the replay.
That makes sense.
So,
okay.
But yeah, that wasn't shown on TV, but we saw that live, and then Hangman and MJF brawled after the match. You think that's Forbidden Door, or where are you at on this?
Yeah, I can't imagine that they go any other it's like, I can't imagine they're gonna have Hangman lose the title this quickly, but MJF is a really, really good first like big challenger for the title, and the two of them have a lot of history that dates back to literally the beginning of AEW. So I would imagine, I mean, if it's not that, like, what could they possibly do outside of, like, what do you think would make any sense for Hangman if it wasn't that?
Unless he just gives Mark Briscoe a shot out of like respect. Like,
I don't think they're gonna do that.
It's a New Japan show. You would think someone from New Japan would be on this show, maybe challenging. Look, they might do Tanahashi and Hangman, just as they love giving Tanahashi the title match here.
How long is it between Forbidden Door and the next pay-per-view? Like, how is it, like, right away, or is it like...
Nah, All Out's in about 3 weeks after. It doesn't feel like this is a Forbidden Door match because they've already got so much on Forbidden Door. Why do you need to go to Hangman and MJF this early? Especially with MJF having the contract. Like, I know they're doing the feud and everything. I just don't think you need to go to the actual match this early, because you're already doing Athena and Toni Storm, which was Athena winning the Casino Gauntlet. What's the point of, hey, you can have a title match whenever you want, but both people who won the Casino Gauntlet are just gonna use their title match at the very next pay-per-view? If that's the point, just make it okay. The winner of the Casino Gauntlet gets the match at Forbidden Door. So I don't think they're gonna go to MJF and Hangman this early.
Yeah, you're actually probably right, but I think it's mainly because it's the Forbidden Door show itself. Like, because you could do a New Japan wrestler, then you said, and then it's, I always get all the dates mixed up. All Out is like 3 weeks after Forbidden Door.
Yeah,
I could see that being an All Out title fight. That's a big enough match for and those are two homegrown AEW guys for the world title on, essentially their second biggest show of the year, I guess. After All In, I could see that. I could see that playing out that way. But then, for Forbidden Door, I don't know. I mean, you might not be that far off with Tanahashi. I mean, this is his retirement year. Like, they might just be like, all right, go for the title. Yeah, I hope that's not the case, because I'd rather see Hangman have like a, listen, I don't want to disrespect Tanahashi, okay, but like, I just can't.
Now you haven't been watching the G1. Tanahashi's turning it up.
Is he really? Because
Yeah.
I have not been watching the G1, and that's also interesting. Myron actually beat me to it. It mentions that the Forbidden Door pay-per-view during the G1 climax is certainly a choice. That is interesting too. That they probably shouldn't do that.
Well, this year the scheduling became wonky because they couldn't run Wembley because Coldplay had the dates. So they ran, because next year it's the end of August again, All In is. So, but they wanted to keep being in London at the end of August. That's why All In became beginning of July instead of end of August, so they could keep being in London at the end of August, and they switched to Forbidden Door, which is usually in June, but is now at the end of August. So a lot of things got swapped, and it's all Coldplay's fault, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, was Coldplay also the concert where like that dude got caught like cheating? Yeah, so Coldplay very relevant right now. Yeah, I'm interested to see who, because my mindset was like next pay-per-view is going to be Hangman and MJF. Like, that's just where I thought everything was heading. But I didn't even put two and two together that like Forbidden Door, it would make more sense to do someone from New Japan probably, or someone else from AEW, I guess. But like, I don't think there's anyone on AEW's roster right now outside of, like you said, with Mark Briscoe, especially based on like last night, Hangman basically telling Mark, like, I hope you win because it'd be an honor to defend the title against you because I respect you. Like, outside of that specific situation with Mark Briscoe, I don't think you can make a case for anyone else on the AEW roster right now that could like leapfrog MJF, like, realistically, it just wouldn't make any sense. So I think it'd have to be somebody outside of AEW, someone from New Japan.
Yeah.
But I also don't know, like, and this is my fault because I don't follow it as closely anymore. But I don't know who in New Japan would be like ZSJ is the champion still, right? He won the title back, and he's still the champion.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be an interesting match, the two of them again. But it would be ZSJ defending that title against someone else.
Yeah. Zach's gonna face somebody else, most likely Ospreay, on that show.
Makes sense.
Yeah. The problem is, like, Shingo is an easy call because whoever you're putting in there from New Japan, they're gonna lose. They're not gonna win the title. So you obviously can't put your champion in there to lose. You don't necessarily, if I'm New Japan anyway, I don't really want to put like Yota Tsuji in there because I think they got plans for Yota Tsuji. Whoever wins the G1, you don't really want to put them in there and have them lose. So it's gotta be a person who you feel comfortable. It's gonna be a good match, but you can also beat them. That's why Shingo is a possibility because they're fine beating Shingo, and assuming Shingo doesn't win the G1 or anything like that. Takeshita is a possibility. He's having a strong showing in the G1. That's a guy who he's not going to win the AEW title, but he and Hangman will have a great match. And coming off the G1 run with Takeshita, that gets him right back into the mix with AEW as well.
I would be all for that. I love the idea of Takeshita versus Hangman. I think they would have an awesome match. I was advocating for Takeshita to win the Casino Gauntlet. Like, I want to see Takeshita in spots like that, in big spots for AEW. I think he's super talented, super valuable, and could be like a really big long-term star for that company. So yeah, obviously he's going to lose, but it'd be a much better match than Hangman versus unless Tanahashi like really went out there and like, if what you're saying is true, maybe he'd surprise me and they'd have a banger. And plus Hangman's going to make pretty much anyone look good too. Like there's that aspect of it as well, obviously. But yeah, my vote is for Takeshita because even though he's AEW, you can make a strong enough case based on what he's doing in New Japan, where like he's not really jumping AEW talent. He's like just like earning it based off of his New Japan run. So yeah, I like that.
We'll see if that's where they end up going for it, but I don't think it's going to be MJF and Hangman. I could be wrong. I was live at Dynamite.
I think you had a good time. I saw some pictures.
I boosted the ratings. I don't know if you saw the numbers that came out today, but second highest viewership of the year. That's all on me, in my humble opinion. I was on the show 5 seconds in, so clearly they saw me and they decided to stick around.
I missed it live, but I saw like the picture.
I was on 5 seconds in, and then during Swerve's promo, for some reason they cut to me during Swerve's promo, and I'm like, what? He's doing a promo. I complained about this on In the Weeds, but like I was hitting the Swerve dance during his intro, and the camera was focused on me the whole time during his entrance, never cut once. It's like, that's the time you missed my high spot. What's going on here? I was hitting the Mercedes dance, never cut. The camera didn't actually come over to me for that, so like that would have been a surprise if they did cut. I think if she'd gotten like a full entrance, I would have been featured, but they missed all my high spots, gave me rest hold camera cuts, but I still boosted the ratings for them, so you're welcome. I also got Mark Briscoe's bandana.
Yes, that's sick. Dude, you got to get that signed.
I would love to get it signed. I think that would be very cool.
That's totally possible. That's totally doable to get Mark's signature.
He was, they ended the show in like a giant brawl and everything with Hangman, and I don't know when the show cut off. Did they show them
fighting afterwards? Yeah.
Did they show Hangman hit the buckshot on a security guard?
That I can't remember. I might have already switched over to it was either Always Sunny or South Park was about to start. Okay. I might have missed the very, very end.
Okay. So he did that. That didn't feel like something that was on TV. It felt like they probably just brawled throughout the arena, and then that was the end of the show. But my point is, Mark Briscoe got busted open from the ring, and I don't know if they showed him getting like bloody and everything. So Mark comes out like where we're at, and usually after the show is over, like wrestlers will kind of chat, talk, whatever, if there's nothing going on. But because he was busted open, and because Hangman and MJF were still brawling and were coming back to the ring, Mark kind of just exited out the way. Because otherwise, I didn't have a pen, but maybe someone around had a Sharpie or something. Otherwise, I probably would have been like, hey, can you like sign this? But yeah, I didn't have a Sharpie on me. Anyway, I told the story in the Weeds, but I'll tell it here because you were unaware of the information, Jensen. I was afraid to catch this. So he throws it, and like I reach my hand out, and then like I pull back because I realized how far over the guardrail like I was actually reaching. And so I'm thinking of like baseball. Like I don't want to interfere with play here.
You don't want to be Steve Bartman.
Right. So like he throws the jacket down, just straight down on the ground, and then he tosses the bandana, and it seems like he's trying to basically toss it into the crowd. Like it's fine. So like I go to catch it, and then I pull back. I was like, I don't want to catch this in case like he wants this or whatever. And the security person who comes over and grabbed the jacket, he grabbed the bandana and tossed it up to me. He's like, no, you're good. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like the worst thing that could have happened is I would have caught it. And if they were like, hey, we need that back, I would have been like, okay. I should have just held them up. I was like, you want this? I need a Bryan Danielson, if he's back there, he's got to come out here. I need a personal photo with Bryan Danielson. I need Tony Khan to play Vanilla Baby, just the entire show, like the rest of the show. I need the ROH pencil as well. How much is this bandana worth to you? Because I need all of that if you want this thing back.
You're literally trying to negotiate like you caught someone's like record-breaking home run baseball. Like that's exactly what happens when something.
Yes, exactly.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I'm negotiating of like a $5 bandana. Mark probably buys like a 20-pack at the Walmart ad or something.
That'd be so funny because Tony Khan knows you, I think, enough to where like it would be like hilarious if you like gave him just a whole list, like just a literal list of demands. It was like, I've got this bandana. If you want it back, like he'd think it was funny.
So I don't know, like I don't know who in production knows me or who back there is running stuff that would know. I think Tony knows of me, type of thing. And I know some of the cameramen like have friends who might know me and everything. But the fact that like the show started with like a clean cut on me and then zoomed, because I even said in the Weeds yesterday when I learned on the air that I was sitting front row. I was like, oh shit. And I was like, can we not have like my wife on screen throughout the entire, like I don't want her being on, and she didn't want to be on screen like a bunch of times. So it felt like a very conscious effort to start me over when she is on this side of me and was not shown on camera. She was shown on camera during the Swerve promo. So that one, they didn't get the memo. But yeah, they had the camera on me a lot during certain segments, and I only made it on for two heatless segments. Just poor production work, honestly.
Nice. Well, I'm glad you had a good time. I'm glad you guys both got to go. Was it just the two of y'all?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we sent the 12 kids off elsewhere. So yeah, it was just us two. It was a very fun night. You know, she's never sat front row before. I've never sat like front row like that. Not in the event, you know, different. I've been front row there, but but I've sat floor for like Dynamite and WWE shows before, but never front row that close. And yeah, she had a lot of fun. It was a good show. Like I thought it was a really good show, and you know, a lot of the matches were good and strong segments and everything. But yeah, overall, it was a very fun time.
Outside of your appearance, I wonder what the big spikes are. I wonder if it's Hangman on top. Like people are like invested, and like that's a big part of it. Or like I wonder why, because they've been on their shows have been really. I mean, I guess it's a combination of all this stuff probably, but like we've been saying it for months. Like their shows have been really good. The payoff to Hangman beating Moxley was really good. People want to see Hangman in this spot. Like it's, I guess I'm interested to know if I could ask people who don't normally tune into AEW who are tuning in now, like what has changed your mind? Like I'd be really interested to know if it's like one thing or the combination of all of that's like really what's, you know, helping their viewership right now. It's good for AEW. It's awesome.
I think people are hopefully catching on. They're having consistently good shows, and so people are tuning in. I think their streaming numbers are pretty solid, honestly. We'll never get those numbers. Are they a million people? Probably not. But I think when you combine the streaming numbers with the TBS numbers, I think they're cracking around a million, honestly, because most people that I see watching the show are watching it on Max. That's how I watch it. So, and a lot of people I see watching the show are watching on, because like every time there's a problem, like when Collision, cut off early, everyone was like, oh, Max cut off. And then there were people who were watching on TNT or like, oh yeah, we got Black Adam coming on. But it's so many people that are typically watching on Max, at least from what I see. So I think their streaming numbers are probably pretty strong. This was a weird week where NXT numbers were also up. And so I think you can judge a lot based on what the NXT number is, what the Dynamite number will be, because it seems like they have similar audience, at least in terms of like overall numbers. They're if you look at them, their numbers are pretty close together most weeks. And NXT numbers were up like 100,000 this week, and it wasn't even like that. Yeah, and it wasn't a strong show. Like the announced stuff for that show was Sol Ruka and Tatum Paxley, Hank and Tank defending the tag team titles, and
Hank and Tank, let's go. I've been on that bandwagon since NXT Level Up. I those guys remind me a lot of, like, I know that's part of it, but they remind me of like old school WCW tag teams, like Disorderly Conduct and like those type of dudes. Anyway, sorry, I don't want to cut you off. We've never talked about Hank and Tank on the show, but I've been like wanting those guys to get pushed for years now. So
yeah. So, but they didn't have like a whole lot announced for that show, and it still did 100,000 more than the previous week. So, and then AEW did their second highest number of the year. I don't know if there is a real rhyme or reason for a lot of this stuff, but they had a strong show on paper. They've been building the MJF and Mark Briscoe match for months now, and it's been strong stuff. Like all their promo work has been good. It's a cohesive, good story. MJF draws a lot of good heat. Mercedes' return probably played into that, and the Bucks against Bandito and Brody King match those are the big three things advertised for this show, and those are all strong kind of stories and character stuff. So I think hopefully people are paying attention to that.
Good for them, and also just worth mentioning that like pretty much everyone you just mentioned is like not an ex-WWE talent, and that's also really good to know for AEW. Like that they're doing this with a lot of their own guys and girls. I mean, some of them obviously from WWE, but the majority of them aren't that you just mentioned.
All right, we're gonna go to the other spotlight.
Our product is what it is. We're going straight up the middle.
MJF, speaking of, he won the CMLL, one of those titles, beating Averno for it. They got 800 titles in this company. They're acting like this is the most important title. It's not necessarily, but MJF
the light
got
heavyweight title, I think, technically.
Okay.
The light heavyweight title, I think.
Yeah, they got 1 million titles.
Yeah.
There was, people didn't see this. This was, I think, will air on ROH because they had the ROH branding out there, and I assume like the angle will actually air on ROH. Mystico was in a trios match after Dynamite went off the air as part of the ROH tapings, and they won. It was Mystico, Neon, and Mascara Dorada against Adam Priest, JD Drake, and Anthony Henry, and the Sky Team won. And after the match, MJF attacked Mystico and said, like, if you want the match, you got to put everything on the line. So they're still building towards Mystico and MJF.
Speaking of Mascara Dorada, I was super confused. Like, it had to have been like a few months ago when I realized, like, I'm almost positive for a while that was Grand Metalik, but then like Grand Metalik is just now Metalik, and someone else is Mascara Dorada. Like, it always confuses me when like these guys, like the gimmick stays the same, but like different people get in the mask and like continue that same character. So that's just something worth mentioning. Like, that threw me off. Like, I remember it was a few months ago. It was like, oh, Mascara Dorada is advertised. And I've always liked Grand Metalik. And I was like, this isn't Grand Metalik. Like, wait a second, this isn't the same guy. But yeah, I didn't have honestly a whole lot to say about like MJF's actual title win outside of like I just wanted to kind of bring up that I think it's cool that he's being featured as much as he is in CMLL, because it's just kind of like, you know, the whole Forbidden Door concept. Obviously, the WWE's gotten very involved with other companies. It's good to see AEW still having strong relationships with other companies as well. And Lucha Libre is like really hot right now, honestly, like in the United States, like way more than it has been. And a lot of that has to do with the WWE and AAA's relationship, or AAA, if your Espanol is better than mine. But I like seeing MJF like having this feud with Mystico that's like happening across AEW and MLW and CMLL, and like, so it's just kind of a cool thing that MJF, because like if MJF's not going to be the AEW World Champion right now, obviously I think we both think he's going to be challenging for the title again soon, but this at least gives him something that makes him like pretty much the top guy when he's around in all the other companies too. So and he's going to have really good matches with all these people consistently also. That's one thing about MJF that I think gets lost on people, is like he's a phenomenal in-ring worker. Like he's super, super good in ring. It's just him as a heel, he's not going to always hit Fosbury flops and stuff, but like he can. Yeah, I just thought it was cool that MJF's getting so much, like that he's like, even the fact that he popped up in MLW again recently was like, I didn't expect that at all, you know, like, but, and Mystico has made a huge, it's been like a horseshoe for him where it's like he was the man pre-WWE and then came into WWE Sin Cara. Then he got his gimmick taken by someone else in WWE and by Unico. And then like, you know, he had to change his name a few different times and like, but he's like totally like on top in like the Lucha game again after all these years. So, you know, good for him.
My other spotlight is Joe Hendry coming out of a fridge, because I think it is absolutely hilarious that this man who faced Randy Orton at WrestleMania as the TNA champion is now just popping out of a fridge on NXT television. Good chemistry with Ren Sinclair, though.
So, are you familiar? I haven't looked, but are you familiar with the term nuking the fridge?
No.
Have you ever heard about this? So,
No.
What you just described, it's so funny. So it's the idea. Have you ever heard of jumping the shark?
Yes.
Okay. For people who are unaware, jumping the shark is basically a term for back in the day, the show Happy Days with the Fonz. They had like done so many episodes and run out of all ideas, to the point where they had an episode where the Fonz on water skis jumps, does like a ramp and like jumps over a shark, and that was considered like, that's where the term jumping the shark comes from. It's like this they had completely run out of ideas, to the point where it's like, fuck it, let's just have him jump over a shark. Like we got nothing else. Nuking the fridge is the same type of concept, and it comes from that Indiana Jones reboot movie from it's already been 15 years ago, probably, the one with Shia LaBeouf, where the movie pretty much starts off where there's where Indiana Jones gets nuked, and he survives completely unscathed because he hides in a fridge. Everything else is destroyed, but he survives it because of a fridge, and that's called nuking the fridge. That's kind of a perfect metaphor for what you just described with Joe Hendry, where it's like, have they already run out of ideas? Did he already peak at WrestleMania? What do they do with him from here? And now he's just walking out of a fridge. Yeah. That's pretty much all I've got to say about it. You'd think this is the beginning of a long career for him in the WWE, because he's still fairly new there, but
I think he can
sounds like they're out of ideas.
I think he can have a long career in WWE, just being comedy kind of character. You can survive a while with that kind of character, honestly.
True.
But I think that's kind of where his peak is he's a mid-card comedy guy. And I don't know if they have any plans beyond that. I don't know where he fits when he inevitably or most likely ends up in WWE. I have no idea where he fits in with that because main roster is tough sledding. And I don't know if he can make it on the main roster for a number of reasons. NXT, fine. He could be NXT champion. I can see that. But main roster, going to be harder to stand out there.
To this, I don't mean this as an insult. I've probably never said this about a wrestler ever before, but like I'd probably make him a manager on the main roster. Like get him involved. Like he's likable. He's charismatic. He can help get other people over. People want to see him, and he can still wrestle and bump. Like it's like he has to never wrestle ever again. But I'd have him in a spot where he's like. Almost like I'm not necessarily the Simon system, like Simon Dean, but like something like that, where he's kind of like the leader of like a inspirational group or something like that, where he doesn't have to wrestle that often, but could if he needed to.
Right. Yeah. Let's get into the indie spotlight.
I'm gonna give a big motherfucking shout out.
The first ever WWE ID champions have been crowned. The women's champion Kylie Ray defeating Zeta Steele and Zara Zacher at GCW Presents WID, and Cappuccino Jones on the men's side defeating Jack Cartwheel. Oh, I was right about Cappuccino. You were right about Kylie. We're going to split the difference there. But I thought both matches were strong. Kylie Ray looked shocked when she won, got the tap out. And then Cappuccino and Jack Cartwheel was a really fun match with Cappuccino winning. But thoughts on those two being the first champions?
Happy for both of them. Two great, decisions to carry those titles. Kylie, like I said last week, of all the people that are on the WWE ID, that have been ID'd with those type of contracts, she's the one I'm most surprised about that wasn't just outright signed. Obviously, like she had short stints in other companies and stuff like that, and that might play into it as well. I don't know, but like it looks like Kylie Ray is obviously the WWE is investing in her, and she seems to be having a good time, and it seems to be going really well for her. And I think that there's nothing against any of the other women that are ID'd or even like a part of Evolve, regardless of whatever kind of contract they have. Kylie Ray is the best woman that you could have that title on, like, because she wrestles really all over the indie scene and she has great matches with everybody. So like she can really help elevate people and make people look really good. That like, I'm more excited for like the people that aren't ID'd or don't have contracts that are going to get to wrestle Kylie. And then like the WWE is going to see them and be like, oh, maybe we need to sign this person also, because like look at the match that they had with Kylie. Like, and that the only thing that's going to limit her is she's great at wrestling, any gender. Like this kind of limits her to defending the title against only women. But like she could do the same thing for men. Honestly, like there are men that she can get in the ring with WWE's never seen, and they come out of it and be like, that dude's really good. He tore it up with Kylie, like so. I think that she's the most talented and the most the most experienced and stuff. Probably the best representative that they could choose on the women's side to have that championship. So I think it's a smart decision. And then Cappuccino, I talked about it last week. My main thing with I didn't really have an honest preference between who was going to win. I just want whoever's going to win to defend the title. Like I said, I could echo the same thing I said about Kylie Ray, about what I want for Cappuccino Jones. Like I want him to be featured on top indie shows, which he's already very active. He just isn't as active in a lot of the companies that I cover as often as the ones that I cover for Jack Cartwheel. But now that Cappuccino's got this ID title, I'll be covering any show that he's on because I'm going to be, continuing to let people know what's going on with that championship. So in ring wise and stuff, like both Cappuccino and Jack Cartwheel are both fantastic. They're both innovative. I think either of them would have been a good person to have the championship. So I'm glad for Cappuccino. And like I said last week, the thing that makes these titles interesting to me, and I said it last week, you really don't need Evolve titles and ID titles, but like the thing that makes the ID titles unique is that if whoever wins that either of those titles, they get ID contracts. So like it makes it really unpredictable. Like will Kylie or Cappuccino lose the title to someone already signed to the WWE or someone we've seen in Evolve, or are they going to lose it to somebody that isn't currently signed? And that's how the fans find out that like they're getting. And also, how's it going to work for the talent? Like, how in advance are they going to know? Like, hey, we want you to beat Cappuccino Jones because like we want to sign you. Like how in advance will those indie talents find out and stuff like that? So it just makes it really interesting. And I think it's going to give a lot of people a lot of really good opportunities. Like even the same stipulation isn't involved with the Evolve Championships, but like a good example of kind of what I want to see out of this whole program and these titles is like this past weekend. Which show was it? It might have been the same GCW, the same GCW ID. There was like 7 or 8 GCW, JCW shows in the past week. So I can't remember which one was which, but one of the shows, I think it was ID Showcase, Jackson Drake, who is the Evolve champion, wrestled Alec Price one-on-one.
Yeah, that was the ID show. Yeah.
Okay. And it was only like a 5-minute match. But to me, that's like WWE's got eyes on Alec Price. Like, that's awesome to know. It doesn't necessarily mean like he's next up to get signed, but like if Jackson Drake is wrestling, someone in the WWE is watching that match because they are heavily monitoring their ID talents like Jackson. So that means Alec Price is to some degree and obviously he's done trials for the WWE and stuff. They're probably aware of him, but that's what makes it so exciting to me is like people who aren't already signed potentially having eyes on them and maybe getting signed by the WWE through opportunities at the ID titles.
Also, during SummerSlam weekend, we had Bloodsport with a lot of WWE talent. We mentioned Jonathan Gresham. He faced Pete Dunne at Bloodsport. Natalia faced Masha Slamovich in the main event. Charlie Dempsey was on the show. The War Raiders were on the show. Our guy Matt Mako was on the show and on commentary, which was great. Quick thoughts on Bloodsport and if anybody kind of stood out for you?
This was one of my favorite Bloodsport events. Like, I can't believe I think this one is the 14th Bloodsport. Yeah. But for people who might not know, these shows started with Matt Riddle did like the first couple, and then Josh Barnett took it over when Riddle got signed, and like since then it just kept this thing going and brought it up to this next level to where they're at 14 of these now, which is awesome. It was. It was strange to me that like only one person in the WWE lost on this whole card, and it was Ivar. Like Eric won, but Ivar lost, and all the other WWE talents won. Which
Dempsey won.
Yeah, he beat Guarini.
Oh,
that was a really good one.
Dempsey's lost like a number of times at Bloodsport. That's why I couldn't remember.
I know he beat Matt Mako.
Yeah. But he's lost a couple other times at Bloodsport. So, but yeah, otherwise all the WWE talent won. That's how it typically goes. Like they get one loss and then they win all the other matches.
Well, the one win over WWE talent was Royce Isaacs, who I like to call Hoist Isaacs because of Hoist Gracie, like for the Bloodsport event. So I've heard Josh Barnett call him Hoist.
Royce Isaacs beat Dempsey, and Dempsey, I thought he lost more than he has. He's not. I knew he lost at least one. That was Isaacs. I thought he lost to Shinya Aoki because I thought that decision was bullshit that he beat Shinya Aoki.
Yeah, it's wild that Shinya Aoki is still involved. Like, I remember when he was like in the rankings of like one of like the top like lightweight fighters.
He was like the dream lightweight champion too. Like Shinya Aoki was
I think he still competes in MMA. Like
I think so too.
Yeah. Anyways, but they've made Royce Isaacs like one of like, I mean, he's obviously been one of their guys for Bloodsport. So, it's good for him to keep racking up these big wins. I really like the Matt Mako and Ray Jazz fight. Ray Jazz looked really good also. Like the way he kind of manhandled Mako and like suplexing him and throwing him around and stuff. They had really good like chain moves, like going from the mat up to their feet and stuff. Then Mako eventually got him with like it was like a chaos theory, like a rolling like German, but like right into an armbar, I think is what finished Ray Jazz, if I remember correctly. And Mako also finished LeBron Cozone the same way the next day at JCW. But yeah, Mako's the man. Y'all know I love me some Matt Mako. We're still trying to make that Mako versus CM Punk fight happen at some point. Janai Kai just like straight like super kick Jordan played. Just like it was like immediate KO pretty much. Simon Gotch, Nick Comoroto versus Simon Gotch. Nick Comoroto came out in Rex Kwon Do regalia. Like he was dressed up like Napoleon Dynamite Rex Kwon Do with like the red, white, and blue, the baggy, Rex Kwon Do shorts or pants and all that kind of stuff. Thought that was really funny. Dempsey and Guarini I thought was really good. That's about the best, one of the best matchups they could put together as far as like on paper, like the two of their styles. And, especially with Guarini's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu accolades and stuff like that. Like I thought that one was really, really well done. I already talked about Royce Isaacs, Thatcher and Slade. I can't remember what caused the DQ.
Biting. He bit him.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Ivar and Manders was really good. Eric and Manders was really good. Manders he's like one of the most active wrestlers in the world, but like just this past week, he had probably like 4 or 5 just absolute bangers with like everybody. He wrestled like Jun Akiyama one of these shows. Like he wrestled everybody. So Manders also wrestled Thomas Shire at JCW the next day also, who's his tag team partner in Cowboy Way. Like Manders I feel like he's got to be one of those guys. It's like TV contract is got to be coming soon. I just feel like he's a big dude. He works really well. The fans get behind him. He's good on the microphone. Like, I don't know. Keep your eyes on Manders, everybody. Pete Dunne and Jonathan Gresham was really damn good. It makes me kind of scared now, like knowing what Gresham's gone through recently. Like, but it was cool seeing Pete Dunne in this setting. How long has he had his haircut that short? I feel like I haven't seen him in a long time.
He hasn't been on TV for a while, but he's had it for a couple months now.
Okay, yeah. The last time I saw him, I think it was like long, like on the one side or whatever. What's wild about Pete Dunne is like he's been wrestling since he was like a teenager because he was like known before WWE UK, and when he was the champion of that brand, he was still probably a teenager or like really early 20s. So he still probably hasn't even hit his prime technically, but he's already been on TV for a really long time. So I'm interested to see kind of what his trajectory looks like. And then Natty Neidhart and Masha Slamovich was great, as you would imagine, between those two. Natty eventually forced Masha to – she didn't tap. I can't remember what she put her in.
She had her in the sharpshooter, and then
Masha fought out of that, though.
Masha fought out of it, and then they spit at each other, and then Natty hit like stomps to the chest, and then like strikes to the head, and the referee stopped it.
That's right. And Natty, this is like, this isn't the first time she's done one of these, but like this is totally her element, and it's cool that obviously I'm hoping Masha gets more kind of like integrated into the WWE system and NXT and like has a like long successful WWE career. Cause she's already kind of like 1 foot in with them with the TNA relationship and everything. But like, this just kind of seems like a cool kind of moment in time where you get Masha Slamovich before she like really makes that run versus Natty, who's already like super established. So I really enjoyed this show from start to finish. And I don't think there was any like everyone on the show did a good job of like looking believable and like they belonged on this and like nothing looked too goofy and stuff. So that was a really good showing. I'm looking forward to the next one.
We got a super chat that I missed earlier from Auntie Collins, who just sent us some love. We appreciate you, Collins.
I think she sent that whenever we were talking about the Brock stuff. Not that she loved Brock, but that we were like that we don't want him there kind of thing. So yes. Thank you very much for the super chat. We appreciate that.
Collins.
Yeah. Anything else? The only thing we didn't cover that I thought it was from last week and it had to do with AEW. I just want to bring this up to get your thoughts. You probably talked about it, but the Christian promo from last week, where he was just like stumbling over it. Like that was one of the weirdest things that's one of the most backwards booked things I've seen AEW do, where like Christian went out there, totally botched the promo, but it was a heel promo. Like he was saying heel stuff, was botching the promo, was telling the fans to shut up, even though like he was the reason for the pauses because he kept screwing up. It had nothing to do with the fans. But then Nick Wayne and Kip Sabian jump him, who are heels, but really storyline wise should be baby faces because they're standing up to this guy who treated them like shit for so long and like ridiculed them for being fatherless. Like it just seems like heels fighting heels, but we're eventually supposed to get around to like Edge and Christian, the good guys. So I just thought the concerto was whack. Like that wasn't even close. So like I just wanted to bring that up because I knew we had like a little extra time real quick, but what were your, because I know you're a big Christian guy. Thought that whole thing was weird.
Louis says blame Cope. Yeah, that's my thoughts. It's Cope's fault. That's
Cope's fault.
It's Cope's fault. Yeah.
It had nothing to do with it.
No, it was all his fault. He came back and all of a sudden Christian just the aura, the lack of that Cope has rubbed off on Christian. That's how I'm surmising it.
That's what it is. Right. Fair enough. Thank you for the super chat, Louisville, as always.
Appreciate you, Louis.
Is what I honestly can't was Christian on the show yesterday? I literally can't remember.
No.
I didn't think he was. I just so.
All right.
Well, I'm glad you had fun at Dynamite, and hopefully, I actually got a message from your wife. Looks like you guys had a good time. She was mentioning about like the cameras. That's funny. But I'm glad you guys had a good time.
All right,
it's pretty much everything I've got.
Let everybody know where they can find you at.
Find me on Twitter or X at @FightTalk_. Highly recommend people check out this year's episodes of South Park so far. I think they've been very funny. Also, Always Sunny, I think, has been pretty good. Like last night's episode was a throwback with some real old references to episodes that happened like 20 years ago. So like, as a fan of South Park and Always Sunny, I really look forward to new episodes. I think that they've been really good so far. So I wanted to give that a plug too for people who maybe don't watch those shows anymore or gave up. Now would be a good time to get back in probably on both of those. So yeah, anything else? Fight Talk as the promo code on independentwrestling.tv and listen to the Weekender podcast. I've been doing it mainly on Mondays lately just because there's been so many like Sunday events and stuff. And then with NFL coming back, it'll just most likely it'll be mainly on Mondays going forward. Monday nights when I get off work. But occasionally you might get a Sunday Weekender, but that's kind of the plan going forward. I appreciate everyone who tunes into that. And that is, of course, me covering the world of independent professional wrestling over on FightfulSelect.com. So, yeah, that's, I think, pretty much everything that I've got going on. Congratulations again to Cody Rhodes for becoming the WWE champion. I'm very happy about that. And Skull Vikings. The Vikings play on Saturday. Going to get a taste of JJ McCarthy. He's going to be starting the game off under center, QB1 for the Minnesota Vikings. And I am very, very heavily, I'm emotionally and monetarily invested heavily in JJ McCarthy being good this year. So I'll be watching diligently on Saturday. And Skull Vikings. That's everything I got. Good to see you, Jeremy. Good to see the chat. So hope everyone has a good day.
Folks, we'll be back next week. I'll be back tomorrow with Joel at 10 a.m. Eastern right here on this channel. Until then, talk to y'all later. Bye, everybody.